All right, here we are on Zoom virtually, wanting to share a message with our congregation. And we have Passover coming up, and I thought that we could, start by sharing a little bit. I'd love to hear from you, Cantor Young, about what is it about the Passover story that is most meaningful to you?
Wow. This is such a surreal experience to be sitting at home in quarantine with my family and thinking about Mitzrayim, those narrow places that we are focused on leaving, and what that looks like for people all over the world at this time of year and at this time in our history. Each Pesach, we retell the story of the Exodus, and we say as when we came out of Egypt. And for so many of us, we can't really express what it is that we're feeling. Like, what is narrow? What does that mean? Where are the places where we're feeling stuck? And some of us can kind of fathom that, especially adults. I think we have a better grasp on how to express those places of narrowness. More challenging for kids, but I think for the first time, our kids are experiencing that in a very, very real way in quarantine and feeling stuck and separate and isolated and not knowing what's before them. And I always love the story of the Exodus and the whole idea of having faith in crossing the sea with something scary behind you, whether that's the coronavirus or the Egyptians or whatever it is, and having the unknown before you. So many of us want control in our lives, and we want to know what the outcome is going to be, but only God knows. But when we walk together and when we have faith in each other and support one another, we're stronger together. And it makes it easier to traverse these narrow places when we're together.
That's beautiful.
How about for you?
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think what I want to just really point out about what you're saying connected to the story is, right, we have this story of the Israelite people who are enslaved in Egypt, and Moses gets called from God to help redeem them and take them out of that slavery. And as you're talking about, that whole exodus from that slavery of Egypt happens as a group, happens together. And you were referring a lot to narrowness, and for all of us, I would say, or most of us, we're really feeling that in our lives today, especially with the virus and the limitation. And I just wanted to connect, first of all, this word Mitzrayim, which means Egypt. But that word, even the word itself, Meitzar, means narrow, right? So that's why our sages, especially our Hasidic masters, really connected. This is not just a historical story at all. This is about us today.
Yeah.
Right? Every person has, should see themselves as going out of Egypt or going out of the narrow place. And I guess to me, why the story is such an enlivening part of my life is that I'm always feeling some narrow place of one kind or another. Sometimes it's stronger, like it is now in our lives, but it can be a communal thing, it can be a personal thing. But the story is always reminding me that there is a greater awareness, right? There is a more spacious way to look at things. And there is redemption. So and that's what you were saying about the faith, which is where that story connects to me, is sometimes you can't have that greater awareness right away. It's not going to be available right away. but the story says is it will be. And how do you make yourself available to it? Well, you open your eyes to the wonders that are around you. Like the Israelites had to see the plagues, these great wonders and all these amazing things that happen. We have to open our eyes to the wonders around us. And I connect to very much what you said too about being able to realize that we're taking this journey together. It's sometimes, I think that's right now with this whole coronavirus and the social distancing, and the hardest thing about it is the isolation, right?
Yeah.
Is the belief in some way that we're not doing it together, but we are. And so much of our technology can help reveal that. So being able to kind of remind me that even though things might not feel comfortable right now in this moment or difficult, that there is a greater perspective that's inviting me to take that I can take with other people.
I think one of the beautiful things is recognizing that it's the opportunity for rebirth, right? People are reconnecting with a deeper part of themselves, reconnecting with family. And sometimes it takes us being shaken and coming out of our narrow places, being stuck somewhere. It kind of forces us to look at the world a little bit differently. But like you were saying, to be able to find those blessings that kind of surround us, to kind of remind us where we're headed. The promised land is out there, and we need to remember one foot in front of the other, and doing this as a community, recognizing that people are experiencing this time in history in so many different ways. And as you and I were talking earlier this morning, there are times where we're going to be in that place of strength and deep faith and hope. And that's when we get to reach out and pull other people into that space. And then there are times where we might feel shaken and lost and stuck. And there are opportunities for people in our lives to reach out and be that source of strength for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So just, we're now approaching the holiday of Pesach, and we're getting ready for it. And we're going to have another little video like this when we can talk a bit more about Passover and Seder and themes. But how do you observe Passover in a way that's meaningful for you?
There's a lot of cooking and a lot of family time, and I'm so grateful for the recipes we've collected over the years. And when we were living in Florida, actually, we found this awesome recipe for tropical charoset. That's what you have access to living in Florida. And just a few years ago, we found a recipe for charoset truffles. So being able to gather with the kids in the kitchen and try out different recipes, that's always so much fun. And a few years ago, actually, David created the afikomen cup. So we have this huge trophy that whoever finds the afikomen gets to be the keeper of the cup, and it gets housed in their room all year long, and they get bragging rights. So we love to bring fun into the holiday as we share the stories.
I love it.
How about for you?
Well, I just want to say with that, I think that's really in line with even the sages of our tradition. Like from the very beginning, they were about doing things creatively and doing things that got the kids to ask questions, and just that you're, whether it's through cooking, trying out new things, that can be fun to share, or doing something with the ritual that's fun. Like that is so much that expression of freedom. Like we're not bound by having to do it a certain way.
What creative things do you bring into your Seder?
Well, like to do Seder magic tricks.
Yeah, you're awesome.
And like to have, to me, it's so much about the discussion. It's so much about I mean, sometimes we dress up in costume. Sometimes it's about like the Haggadah itself is just a springboard for discussion. We really
Yeah.
try not to stay so tightly to the Haggadah. Just the other thing I wanted to share though, which is maybe not the most fun part of preparing for Passover, but still is really meaningful for me, is cleaning out the chametz. And the chametz, the leavened bread, it's anything that has to do with the 5 grains: wheat, oat, spelt, barley, or rye, or anything that has those ingredients. And I have to actually plan it on my calendar, like when I'm going to have the time to kind of go through things and then clean.
You got time.
I got right now. There's a lot more time. But for me, the chametz is really about it's ego. I mean, the Hasidic masters really talk about that puffed upness, and that bread is about the ways that I start to get lost in thinking that I know, whatever it is, whether it's with my family or with my community, that I've got the answer, that my perspective on things is the one that's the right one. And so much about freedom is really about humility, is really about being able to feel I am a part of something so much greater, and I don't even have the vaguest, idea about this world and this journey. And like we were saying before, we need each other to go forward. That humility is so much about freedom. So for me, when I'm cleaning out the stuff, I mean, even, whether it's the scrubbing or the picking out, I'm thinking to myself, like, this is really this inner cleaning. This is, I want to keep reaching for that humility as I'm kind of going through. And then the great benefit is everything is clean, is all, like
you can come to my house.
Right. Well, that's until you get to start with the cooking, right? So more to share, so much more to share, but nice to have some virtual time with you and with whoever is watching. Hag Sameach, and we're all in it together.
Looking forward to hearing what other creative things people are doing with their families, and we get to learn new rituals from the rest of our community.
Amen.
We'll see you a little bit later, Kavod.
Okay. Bye-bye, Natalie.
Bye.